15 UX laws that can transform your business. Hello everyone, let me start with a question. How many of you have ever gone to a website, tried to buy something and gave up halfway because it was just too complicated? I think almost all of us have faced this particular issue. Now, here is the truth. Most businesses don't fail because their product is bad. They fail because their experience is bad. And in today's world, your competition isn't just the store next door or the startup across the street. Your competition is the best experience your customer had. Whether that was Amazon, Netflix or Google, customers don't compare you to your competitors. They compare you to the best. And that's why I want to share with you 15 UX laws, principles that come from psychology, human behavior and design science that explain why people act the way they do online. Now, these aren't just rules for designers. These are business laws. If you ignore them and you bleed your customers, when you embrace them, you can unlock the growth. Think of them as a gravity of digital experiences, which is invisible, inevitable, but incredibly powerful. So let's dive in deep into this. Hello everyone, I am Uday Kumar Shivagurunathan, lead UX designer and the founder of Draventil. First law that I am going to talk about today is Hick's law. Do you know what Hick's law says? The more choices you give, the longer it takes to decide. Let me make this simple. Have you ever gone to a restaurant with a menu so thick it felt like reading a novel? By the time you finish page 10, you don't even want to eat anymore. That's what happens to your customers online. Too many plans, too many buttons, too many parts. They freeze and they leave. Now let's look at Apple. They sell millions of iPhones every year, but they don't give you 25 options. They give you maybe 3 models to the maximum. That's it. That's the clarity drives billions in revenue. So the business lesson in this is pretty simple. Simplify the decision, amplify the sales. The second law is Fitts law. Have you ever tried to click a tiny checkbox on your phone while running to catch a train? You tap everywhere except the box. That's Fitts law at work. It says the time it takes to hit a target depends on its size and distance. Amazon knows this. Their buy now button is not a little dot in the corner. It's big, it's bold, it's right under your thumb. Similarly, Flipkart is also making their design decision in such way. That particular button alone generates billions of money in revenue. So remember, make it easy to click and customers will stick. Third law I have for you today is Jacob's law. Here is the Jacob law. Users spend most of their time on the sites, which means they expect yours to work the same way. If your shopping cart doesn't look like a cart, if your search bar isn't the way they expect it, guess what? They just leave your application. Now think about cars. Every car has the accelerator on the right, brake in the middle, and imagine if a car company said, let's be more innovative, let's swap them. It would be a chaos. The same applies to design. Familiarity creates trust, and trust is business currency. Remember that. The fourth law is Miller's law. Our brains can hold about 7 items at once. That's it. Not 25, not 100. Just 7. So when you make people remember long instructions, or when your sign up form looks like a tax return, they just quit. But chunk information, guide step by step, autofill everywhere possible, and suddenly the drop off disappears. Less cognitive load is equal to more conversions. That's Miller's law in action. Number 5 I have for you is Pareto principle, which is nothing but 80-20 rule. You know what? 80% of usage comes from 20% of features. That's what we call as Pareto principle. Here is the tragedy. Most of the companies waste millions building features no one touches. They want to be everything for everyone. But smart businesses, they identify the 20% that customers actually care about and double down. Think about WhatsApp. We use it for our everyday communication. No complication in terms of features, just messaging, and yet it became the world's default. Focus is profit in this. The sixth law is peak and rule. Psychologists found something fascinating. People don't remember experience accurately. They remember 2 things: the peak moment and the ending. Imagine you go to a hotel, everything is fine, but at checkout they overcharge you and make you wait 20 minutes. That's the memory you carry always. That's why businesses must design delightful endings, smooth checkouts, surprise thank you notes, little touches that make the last impression very much memorable. End strong and customers return for you. Seventh law, law of Pragnance, which talks more about simplicity. Our brains love simplicity. The law of Pragnance says we see things in the simplest form possible. That's why Google's homepage is just a logo and a box. No clutter, no noise, just clarity. Pure clarity they deal with. When businesses simplify, they signal confidence and customers trust confident brands. brands. Eighth law is law of proximity. If things are close together, our brains assume they are related. Ever filled out a form where the labels were far from the fields, which is pretty much confusing, right? You end up typing your email in the name field. Group things logically and user glide through, misplace them and errors pile up. And in business, error equals cost. The ninth law I have for you is law of similarity. Similar items feels so much connected. If your submit button is blue and your cancel button is also blue, people panic. Which one is safe? Consistency isn't just aesthetics, it is reassurance, and reassurance drives action. The 10th law is law of common region. When you put the items inside the same boundary, people know they belong together. That's why e-commerce sites use product codes. One box, one product, one decision. This reduces scanning time, and faster scanning is equal to faster buying. Businesses that respect this particular law reduce confusion, and confusion kills sales. 11th law is one rest of effect. If everything looks same, nothing stands out. But if one item is different, it will be remembered. That's why pricing labels highlight the pro plan. One plan in a bright color, your brain says that's the one. Isolation creates focus, and focus drives upgrades. 12th law I have for you is serial position effect. Here is a memory trick. People remember the first and the last items best. The middle one is always forgettable. That's why stores put their best products at eye level and cash registers near exits. For digital businesses, it means put your key actions at the start or end of the journey. Don't bury them in the middle. Placement is power. 13th law, Doherty threshold. If your system takes more than 400 milliseconds to respond, less than a half a second, users feel it's slow. Instagram knows this. When you like a photo, you see the feedback instantly, even if the database updates later. Speed is invisible when done right, but deadly when ignored. Slow businesses lose customers, fast ones keep them. Law number 14, Tesler's law. Complexity never disappears. You just choose who deals with it. You are your customer. Take taxes. If software makes you do all the calculations, you suffer. But it autofills, scans, and guides you. The system absorbs the pain. Businesses that take on complexity build loyalty because users remember one thing that was easy. The 15th law, aesthetic usability effect. Here is the final law. People perceive attractive designs as easier to use. That's why we forgive Apple. Even when it is complex, it feels elegant, and elegance builds trust. A beautiful design says we care, and when customers feel cared for, they just buy it. And the final word I have for you today is these 15 UX laws, they aren't just rules for designers. They are survival strategies for businesses. When you ignore them and you frustrate users, frustrated users don't complain. They just disappear. Follow them and you don't just improve usability, you build trust, loyalty, and growth. Because in today's world where attention is a scarce and when choices are infinite, user experience is not a feature, it is the business. So I'll leave you with this particular thought. You are not just designing screens, you are not just designing products. You are designing trust, you are designing loyalty and growth. Thank you.